Hi, my name is Mary Wong, and I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and acupuncturist in Toronto. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you about how to eat. Certainly, everyone talks about what to eat, and that can in of itself become confusing. But what I wanted to do was to get it down to the basics and talk about how to eat that can make a huge difference in your life, in how you feel, in your overall health, as well as how you are feeling in terms of being happy. And this is my live post number 29, so I hope that you will stay with me. And so the very first thing is, in terms of how to eat, what I found was very interesting. I had the honor of sitting with, listening to a woman, Kana, oh gosh, I can't pronounce it, Braca. And she is basically a spiritual healer in the Israeli discipline. And I thought it was very interesting because she spoke about conscious eating. And when I listened to her speak, really, it completely parallels what Chinese medicine is talking about anyway. So really, old traditions actually have it right in the art of eating. And I would love to share that with you. So in my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, I do speak about how to eat. And considering that the book is not very thick, my original manuscript had about 140,000 words, and we had to downsize it to half that amount. So we certainly were not able to fully go into everything into detail. So in terms of how to eat, very first thing is about, oh, actually, I have some stats. So let me see if I can find it for you. Very first thing, the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases stated this: digestive diseases, the statistics in the United States is such as 60 to 70 million people are affected by digestive issues, 21.7 million hospitalized in 2010. And this cost in 2004 $141.8 billion, which is huge. And this includes things like abdominal hernia, chronic constipation, diverticulitis, gallstones, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GI infections, hemorrhoids, inflammatory bowel disease such as Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, liver disease, pancreatitis, ulcers. So all these things are digestive issues. And when we go down to the basics, it's again more than what we eat. So how we eat, such as that can affect and treat bloating, constipation, diarrhea, sometimes can be very, very simple. So in the olden days, and in China, if for those of you who are versed in Chinese food, what you'll see is that stir fries and dim sum, for example, everything is in bite-sized pieces. So it's already partly cut so that you're not having to chew on these large, massive morsels of food, which would be harder to digest, right? And now, take that with modern society when we're so busy and everything's run on demand and in the time crunch. What happens is that I find that people are not eating like they used to. They're not chewing their food like they used to. I mean, unfortunately, I've caught myself doing this where, you know, you're on the run, so you're eating fast. And when you eat fast, you're not even biting as well as you, or chewing as long as you should before you even swallow. Like, have you swallowed almost like whole chunks and it's like hard to go down the throat? Well, that's not what our bodies are meant to do. And if we do this chronically over time, what you're doing is you're overtaxing the digestive system, your stomach, and everything that goes along with it. So, you know, use what we have. And the very first place of our digestion and our jaws, which gets clenched through stress, can get impacted. And the jaws are the strongest muscles in the body, so they really do have the capacity to chew and pre-digest before you put it into our belly for digestion. So why don't you help it out by digesting it in your mouth first. And so there is saliva, which is the first part to digestion. It helps to break down the food. Your teeth, biting, chewing, helps to break down food. So why not do that? We're meant to do that. It produces chyme. It produces a bolus. If you, it's meant to become boluses, meaning you chew it enough so that it becomes unrecognizable portions of food that can go to our digestive tract to then get further transformed into nutritive, accessible pieces of food that goes through our whole body, that nourishes our body. So we need to do that. Now, another piece about how to eat is that, again, there's in parallel. So this woman, Israeli spiritual healer, talked about it. Hara Hachi Bonmi in Okinawa, Japan, who has basically the highest number of centurions in the world. They talk about this, in which you should eat to about 80%. Now, Confucianism also talks about not eating too much, and because the perspective is eating too much food will lay a burden on the spleen and stomach and cause discomfort to one's heart. And it is dangerous to eat or drink too much during festivals. So what that means from Confucian's standpoint is that we should not overindulge, we should not eat over excessively. And then going back to the Japanese school of thought, meaning that if you eat more than what is required, well, all of what you're doing is you increase the and overstretch your stomach muscles. Then in future, what you'll do is then your body will just crave and require more food. And you don't want that. You want to decrease that. And so really, in having to eat 80% of food, it can potentially increase the lifespan of someone because you're not overtaxing the body. So there you have it. Now, the other thing then is that it can impact overall health, fertility, and cancer. So what I want you to do, on page 18 of my book, and 19, I talk about, well, first eat the vegetables lightly, cooked lightly, so that it's already digestible, so partially cooked, and then cut it in small portions so that you can then chew it and then swallow it. Helps the digestion, right? Now, when we chew, we want to chew our food thoughtfully and carefully, breaking it all down before it hits the stomach to help the digestion process. And then trying an eating meditation helps to create relaxation, creates a meditative response, decreases our stress of the day. Because certainly when people come to me, they'll say, oh, what more can I do to help me? And I'll say, you know what? It's not necessarily about doing more. So this is not about doing more. It's about eating mindfully so that you can really use all your sensory orifices to eat this food. So visually you see the food. And unfortunately, most people are not even visualizing their food nowadays because they're staring at a TV screen or a computer screen or their cellular phone. So there's not that connection with that food. And smelling the food is important, tasting the food certainly. And so mindfully taste, chew, see, be with the food. And when you do that, you tend to actually eat less. You get more satisfied because you are satisfying your senses. And again, that you're more likely to chew your food more carefully, breaking it down sizable enough to help your digestive tract. So eat slowly, consciously, so then you notice and enjoy the flavors in your mouth as well. And so what I had already said, do not multitask while you eat, and as you normally do, and instead you eat and breathe and notice the calmness that sets in and that arises. And you may even notice that it helps your digestion, because if you eat too fast when you're in front of the computer, in fact, I know I've done this, and tell me if you have. When you eat fast and you're staring at something else or doing something else or reading a book, what happens is you're not connecting the mind and body together. You eat, you stop what you're doing, all of a sudden you look down, your food is not even there. So you're not even satisfied because you did not satisfy your sensory. And secondly, you may get bloated because while you're doing all that and trying to shove food down, you're probably not chewing as well as you should. So you're not breaking it down. So instead of like refined fuel, you're putting fuel with like pebbles in it. That's not going to work on in the car, right? Very well. So same with our bodies. We want it refined before it even hits the stomach. And so the other thing then too is, when you're not chewing so well and you're not mindful of eating, then that can increase the likelihood that you'll overeat, and then causing, those digestive discomforts like bloating, digestion. And if you're not digesting well enough, then you're going to have larger chunks, and it's not going to go through your whole digestive system, and it may impact your bowel movements as well, and increases inflammation, right? So if you're following a regimen, another piece to how you eat, it's important not to just eat pristinely, and it's not about anally eating well or perfect, because life is about enjoyment, right? So it is okay to have a piece of cake, but when you eat that piece of cake, don't do anything else. Literally just eat that piece of cake in the way that I'm telling you to, so that you can satisfy your craving and really be with the food. Smell it, taste it, look at it, fall in love with it. And you may not even eat the whole piece when you are fully present with it, because it'll become a longer exercise to do that in the first place. So one trick that this spiritual leader, Kenna Braca, I believe her name is, what she says she does is, let's say her passion is chips. And, chips can be addictive, certainly because they are oftentimes preservatives and MSG, even though I don't choose ones with MSG. But still, salt can increase cravings, sugar increase cravings. So what she does is that if you're in a social gathering and you can't avoid it, she'll wait until the very end when there's only like a couple of chips left, so she can only have one chip, and then eating it slowly. And what I personally like to do is, instead of sticking that whole massive chip in your mouth, you take the tiniest bites and taste it, and then you go to the next bite. Fully chew, fully swallow before your next bite. And if you catch yourself to be a fast eater when it comes to mealtime, do the same thing. You take a bite, put your fork down, and chew and chew and chew. Count your chews if you need, and really notice and allow this morsel of food to really become that bolus that it should be, which means unrecognizable portion of food. So it shouldn't be bits. It should even be like mulched down to unrecognizable bits, right? And so with liquid, with saliva, and then you swallow it. All right. Now, the other thing about eating healthily is not judging what you're eating, not judging what others are eating. Just make it a satisfying experience, and just choose more wisely. And when I say that you choose that chocolate cake, don't feel the guilt when you surrender. Like if it's once a week, that's great, because it's almost healthy. It's not just about nourishing your physical body. It's also about nourishing your heart and your soul. And if that's what does it for you, then it's okay to have it, right? And make it a therapeutic experience so that it does feed the soul. Because to me, if I look at a scale, it's equally important to feed your soul as it is your, if this is your soul and this is your physical body, it's equally important to be nourished. Now, the other very big thing that is important, and that is healing, and that produces happiness and fulfillment in your life, and which is all very good for health, is to eat in community. And we've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, where we literally eat in community, and unfortunately I find that people are losing that sense of doing so. So please Eat with your friends, eat with your family, have a conversation. Don't just stick your face in a book or on the computer. And what I see, even when I see couples go out in restaurants now, they're both like looking on their text, they're texting or they're looking at something. I'm like, wow, you need to connect and engage and interact and have that happiness and community and the relatedness. That is healthy for one's life. Now, it's healthy physiologically, psychologically, socially, spiritually, and there's quality of life benefits to that. Next one I want to talk about is eat at regular intervals and do not skip meals. This will help keep your blood sugar levels balanced. Also very true. You don't want to, some people who worry about their weight, or if they know they're going for a lovely meal, they often say, oh, I starved myself all day so I could save myself up for this meal. Well, not very healthy. And some people even say to me, oh, you know, I don't feel like eating when I wake up. And one of the things about that is that if you don't eat at all and then you're completely hungry, first of all, you will start eating uncontrollably. And if you're starving, you're not going to be as discerning or choosing wisely the quality of food that you should have. And so then you resort to quick fast foods, which is not good. So you want to be trying to keep your blood sugar levels even keel so that when it comes time for the next meal, you're not going to be starving. You'll eat consciously and effortlessly, hopefully. And then, you know, prepare home-cooked meals as much as you can. And that doesn't mean that you have to do that every day. It's way better than eating fast foods. But, you know, if you can prepare, like on a Sunday, when you have a bit more time, you prepare enough for even a week, prepare lots and make tiny portions or enough for 1 or 2 people, however many is in your household, so that you can store it in the freezer and label it with dates, because that's key. Because what happens is you think, oh, I'll remember what it is. But if you do a collection of this, they'll all just look like a pile of different colors and you'll have no clue what that is. So what I do is I label everything, I say what it is, and I put a date on it. All right? And when it comes to cooking vegetables, you want to make enough for 2 days maybe, and then so you don't have to worry about cooking it the next day. And of course, leftovers are great for taking to work the next day. So, now, if you do need to resort to takeaway foods, do try to choose some health-conscious establishments, which there are more and more of these days, thankfully. And then so avoid, you know, deep-fried foods and fries and all the rest of it. And you can even make special requests for foods that you want to stay away from, okay? And then perhaps even adding more vegetables. So I've been known to go to this Chinese noodle house and I ask for extra vegetables and less noodles. And sure, of course, they'll charge me extra vegetables, but that's okay because I know I'm getting better quality food. And then I have guilt-free eating, and that's good for your health too, right? So I think that's it. Now, so the takeaway is eat in community, eat slowly, chew your food, and this will help your health overall, and hopefully you'll feel good about yourself, and it may keep your weight down, keep your blood sugar leveled, and have an overall sense of well-being. So that's the conclusion of my talk today, and next week I want to let you know that I'm going to be interviewing someone for the first time, and it'll be fun because her name is Janice Carroll. She makes paraben-free formulas, mineral-based formulas, and I like this because unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate or fortunate, the reality is our skin is the largest organ, and here we are concerned about what we eat, or, you know, what are we exposed to in our environment, but we may forget about, you know, the things we stick on our body or our face. And, you know, I don't normally put much makeup on, but I'll tell you, when it comes to being on camera, all of a sudden I had to put something else on to not look like I'm this dead gaunt thing. So this lipstick that I'm wearing is actually hers, and it's awesome because I don't find myself really eating it at all, meaning that it stays on, but it's paraben free and mineral free. So we're going to talk to her about that, because she, the reason and what motivated her to produce this line on her own was because she herself is a cancer survivor, and she herself had lots of health issues, which also includes fertility challenges. So please join my post next week, next Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And her name is Janice Carroll Cosmetics. So check it out. Check out the rest of my posts. Like my page. Check out my website, marywong.life, and my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, where you find lots of bits of advice and lots of great personal stories. And I'll see you next week. Be fair, be here, or be square. Take care. Bye for now.